Hello, everyone. Hello. That's all.
That's it.
Hello.
That's it. That's all.
Episode 10.
Episode
That
10.
was it. We just wanted to do a small check-in, say hello.
Thank you guys so much for listening.
It's been a pleasure. No, but seriously, episode 10, 2 guys, 4 cents. We're about to go deep. We're going to explore. I'm a little afraid of the subject we're going to talk about.
Oh, that was a good one.
Why would I be afraid, Stephen? What are we talking
What
about?
are you afraid of? Are you afraid of fear itself?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know
Can
what?
you be afraid of fear? If you're really fearful of fear, are you really afraid though?
I think at that point it becomes a paradox.
Yeah.
And
Paradox is not a topic on this podcast.
no.
It's this episode podcast. Thank you. 2 guys, 4 cents.
Go. Here's our 2 cents. Thank you all so much for surviving that chaotic intro.
Surviving.
Soraya?
That's a big.
What rhymes with Soraya? I don't know. Lego. Eminem song, check it out. I think it's called Demons. If you want to get the reference. I still don't understand it. I'll have to do a bit of digging on the lyrics.
Yeah. You know what you're not I messed that up. You know what you're not afraid of is the topic. No, yeah. So this podcast, we're going to be talking a lot about fear.
No, I think we will be talking about fear. All right.
We're feeling good tonight, guys.
No drugs were involved.
No.
Just extremely tired. It's Friday night. I took
stressful week.
Stressful week for you.
Yeah.
It hasn't been stressful like that to that extent. Not stressful, but I've been. It's been a long week. It was hard to explain. It's just one of those weeks, you know.
Yeah.
And I think yesterday I didn't sleep good. And
well, yeah, that could do some of it. Yeah.
And I took a huge nap today.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like in my tired stage right now. So a lot of things are funny to me.
Yeah.
But let's get into it, right? So today we're gonna dig into fear and false meaning, right? Because I think fear can drive your brain to false meaning.
Yeah.
It guides you to false meaning, I would say.
Yeah, it will.
However,
it will. It can.
It can.
It does.
And it will if you let it.
Yes.
However, fear's a double-edged sword. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Like a lot of things are in life, feelings and emotions. I feel like a lot of them can be double-edged swords.
Right. I would agree. And listen, short-term fear, I would say, is beneficial because I think it'll help you achieve a heightened state of comprehension, organization skills. It'll improve, I would say, like physical and cognitive abilities even. Mm-hmm. You know, like it may help you perform better in a sport.
Yeah.
Or it may help you perform better. Let's say you're writing your final exam. Let's say you're well prepared for it, but you're still one way or another, you're anxious. You're fearful. But that'll help you drive. That'll help you drive you.
It helps you prepare for the worst. Right. Like it helps you prepare yourself. If you have fear, you get ready for what you think is about to come.
Right.
And it's not tying it up too much with anxiety because there's some similarities, but I feel like they're not near the same thing. They're close in the sense of it prepares you for stuff and stuff like that. But
like for example, in high school, when I went up in front of the school and did like skits in cheerleading outfits.
Yeah.
Backstage, a lot of nerves, a lot of anxiousness.
I bet.
But it was like that for me. That's what helped me.
And it's funny because
take that first step into
the way after taking the first step, it just all goes away.
It goes away
away.
It's the moment before taking that first step.
Yeah.
You're like, holy shit, am I about to do this?
Yeah. How can I do this? There's no way I can do this.
Yeah, and then funny enough, it's like as soon as you take that first step, there's a switch in your brain where it's like then you're on like focus mode.
Yeah.
That's for me. I'm talking for myself.
Well, for me too. Yeah, I would say so.
But I guess that's why, they say once you take that first step, it's kind of.
So that's sort of the one side of the double-edged sword. The good part,
sure.
Fear, the good of fear, obviously.
Right.
There's a whole other bad side.
Yeah. So, I mean, listen, if when fear becomes chronic, it can be vitally detrimental. It can swallow you up, and it'll spit you back out a quarter of the person you were.
Yeah.
And it does that easily.
Oh, yeah.
Like fear can send you. When fear controls someone, it doesn't make you think. You're not thinking rationally.
No.
You're not basing your decisions off, you being prepared or.
No, you're not.
Having it being calculated or things like that. That's out of the question.
Absolutely.
You're just.
Absolutely.
You're doing things out of fear. Yeah, fight or flight, for sure.
Or there was another one, or freeze. Fight, flight, or freeze. I don't know.
Yeah. Those are the triple Fs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but you don't, it's not, you can't rationalize or really make a decision like you were saying.
Right.
If it's that strong and you're in that much of pain. And some of it can, I guess, come from anxiety. Because anxiety, I was thinking when you were talking, I think creates fear. What do you think about that?
Oh, for sure. Anxiety, I would say, can create fear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
And because they're both, I mean, you're preparing for everything that can happen.
Yeah, because let's say with anxiety, let's say it's chronic anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Overthinking will be a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
And imagination will invariably do more damage than reality each and every single time.
Yeah.
For sure.
Uh-huh. There's no doubt in that.
And I mean, we got to look at why. It's because, well, listen, there's no limits to imagination.
There isn't. No. And something that I find a really good point is that, so imagination, it's like you said, it's all in your mind and you can really imagine whatever you want to.
Mm-hmm. Actually,
funny, this is sort of off topic, but did you know that there's some people that don't, when I tell you to visualize like your car or your truck,
right?
You can see it right in your
Sure.
mind.
Yeah.
Some people can't at all.
Right.
So
I believe it.
That was a complete tangent. I just thought of that. I just found that interesting.
Yeah.
Just the difference of how the mind can work from someone to the other.
Oh yeah.
It's the same thing on paper, but there's so much different from different experiences, from your mind teaching itself how to cope with things, how to prepare you for stuff too.
Absolutely.
Prepare you for the best, prepare you for the worst, prepare you for whatever. But really, so when you think about it, going back to imagination and reality,
mm-hmm.
Imagination, you can visualize, a lot of people can visualize stuff, and you can really play out whole scenarios in your head. A lot of people do this.
I do
with interviews or
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Even maybe a podcast. Sometimes, if you're feeling anxious about it, your imagination can run through the whole scenario.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I've been on both ends of the aisles where it's like, I'm feeling anxious about something. I'm overthinking it. I'm playing the scenario in my head.
Mm-hmm.
I've had it played in a negative light.
Mm-hmm.
I've had it played in a positive light. When it's in a positive light, it just makes things easier when you're in the moment. Let's say, I don't know, you've got a soccer game
mm-hmm.
or an exam to write.
Yeah.
And when you're thinking about it, let's say you're thinking about the exam, or you're thinking about you're sitting in a huge, auditorium or whatever, an arena with a bunch of desks lined up.
Yeah.
Right. And you can, for example, in the negative light, you'd be picturing yourself frozen, looking at a question. You're not even holding your pencil. You haven't written anything down.
Yeah.
And you're frozen. You're scared. You're anxious. You're frozen. You just can't Can't anymore.
Yeah.
Whether that's because of being unprepared or nerves or whatever. Or, other end of the aisle, if you start thinking about it in a more positive light, you can picture yourself absolutely just going to town on the questions. You know what I mean? And seeing that would help, I would think, in the moment. Let's say when you're actually writing your exam and you think back at your positive thoughts.
Yeah.
And it can even like help you think back on that. And perhaps when you were thinking back on that, maybe you were studying.
Yeah. So
maybe you can backtrack that and think about what you were studying.
Things together there.
Right.
Yeah. And then on the other side, if it happens when you think of the worst, and then I think that there's sort of something happens to me sometimes where you think of the worst and you get caught up by it in the moment, and then you're like, holy cow, like this is what I thought of.
Right.
I'm not ready for this. I don't know what to do.
Right.
Like you said, for tests, a lot of times you're just sitting there like staring at the paper and just nothing is in your head.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Just goes blank.
Yeah. And you were like, I was preparing for this, like not even preparing for this. I knew this was going to happen.
Right.
Right.
Give yourself a quick pep talk, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. TED Talk.
TED Talk.
Another thing I wanted to talk about is like how easily fear can make it difficult to distinguish between reality and falsehood.
Yeah.
You know, like it'll be chaos in your head and you won't be able to distinguish the difference between true or false.
No,
it'll be
because
disorganized completely.
The line of everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't let you analyze the situation around you or figure out what's happening and how to properly respond to it. Yeah, that's right. And it's just, and it can also, so something, I guess tying in the imagination and fear too. Imagination and reality, not imagination and fear. So if you're fearful of something, it can distort your imagination,
right?
Which then distorts the reality, because it makes you visual. Because all of like when you're seeing stuff, it's automatically always going like to your brain or any other senses. It's going that way, and your brain is so powerful that it can not like it can't. Can it make you see things? You can, right? You can hallucinate.
Oh, I would say yeah.
In extreme situations,
that would be like an extreme case for sure. So but I wouldn't, I wouldn't count it out.
No,
I'd say it's possible.
Absolutely not. But so that itself just shows you
it's powerful.
Yeah, it can change what you see
very easily. Yeah,
quite literally.
Yeah.
And figuratively as well. Like you can paint a mental picture. Your brain can constantly be painting mental pictures over certain situations,
sure,
or certain things that you've been through, or stuff that has happened before, and it triggers you back there and just paints a picture over it.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk about next as well, is the hormones that your body generates when you're feeling fear. Plagues your train of thought.
Yeah.
You know, and what ends up happening is now you're going to paint those things that you're thinking about in a negative light, and even all the details that come with it. You know, the smell, your surroundings, the weather. You're going to paint all of that in a negative light. And then like later down the road, when you're thinking about those things, like you said, you're going to be thinking about the same negative things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're going to start subconsciously, you're fearful. Whether or not you can pinpoint why you're feeling fearful.
Yeah.
That's it right there. That's it right there. No, but like 2 years ago when I had experienced that, that's why I'm feeling fear. Or worse, sometimes you won't be able to pinpoint it. That's the thing.
So your brain can cover it up.
Absolutely.
And make you not be able to pinpoint
for sure.
Which is, a lot of reasons for brings the good in talking to people.
Yeah. And that's what psychotherapists do, I'm pretty sure, right? They dig into that subconscious, the things that we don't even know.
Yeah.
We're
that are really
we're like pushing away so deeply,
and you don't even know that, you don't even see a correlation,
right?
You're like, there's no way, and then
that's our
and you're like,
that's our response to trauma.
Yeah, exactly.
Is to just,
it doesn't even need to be trauma.
No, but that's the primary way of dealing with trauma. Is just
it is
set it aside and bury it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then later on in life, it can come back
Something
as
trigger,
PTSD
triggers
or
it.
Right.
And it really, but like, so just it distorts everything. Anything that happens,
right,
without that, paints the whole negative picture over it.
Yes.
So, an example that I saw, I was watching a psychologist do like a bit of a session online. I watch this sometimes. It's Dr. K. I can't think of the name of the YouTube channel or the stream. It's Healthy Gamer.
Cool.
And so he was interviewing someone, and they were talking about traumatic experiences or things like that as well. And he really, so one example he gave was that people that he's dealt with, I don't like the word dealt with, people that he's had as clients.
He worked with,
yeah. Who have been in abusive and bad relationships in the past. They continue to fall into those lines and always go into the same relationships and make the same mistakes because that's all they know. When they get into a good relationship, which when the person is just wholeheartedly just a good person, generous, loving, doesn't want anything back, authentic, yeah, right. It's really who they are.
Something's fishy.
That's right. And they're like, that's
got to right. be something wrong.
That's not right. There's no way somebody's like this.
Right.
Like, why wasn't anyone else like this? And ultimately it ends up breaking them and breaking the relationship because they can't get over that mental barrier.
Right.
There's something always blocking it, which is extremely unfortunate, but also scary that you're so stuck in what's happening in the situation.
Well, it controls you.
It controls you.
Yeah.
And you
like when it's at that point, when it makes you push something genuine away.
Yeah.
I'd say that's very powerful.
No, it is. It is.
And yeah, Steven, like to tag along on that when someone is well, listen, it's not even about laying your guard down either, you know what I mean? Where you're looking for every single little negative aspects of something, even if it's potentially not even there, but it doesn't matter, you're looking for it.
Yeah, you are.
Meanwhile, there's a lot of great things around you as well, but what you're focusing on is all the negative stuff. You're going to start pushing whatever it is, whatever good experience it is, away.
You will. Yeah. You'll be only, like you said, focusing on the negative, and not even like it'll be something that you don't even want to happen, don't even try to make happen.
Yeah, it might not even be rational.
No.
But listen, it's like you're nitpicking every negative aspect and you're not focusing on whether that's out of, you're not grateful enough or whatever it is. I feel like we tend to dig into the negative a bit too much when there is plenty of room to dig into the positive as well.
There is, absolutely.
Because it's like, listen, would you say that thinking positively is exhausting? Sometimes.
I think forcing positivity might be exhausting.
That's definitely a discussion to be had, for sure. Because, I'm kind of in the middle on that. I don't think you should be forcing yourself to think in a positive light all the time.
No, you shouldn't force yourself to do anything. I don't think.
No. But I think you should definitely make a harder effort than, let's say, if you're thinking negatively about it.
Yeah. It's...
So what I mean is, it's tough. I don't think you should force positive thinking. but it's a good habit to practice.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, is that like making effort? Is that forcing yourself? You know what I mean?
That's the tough thing. It's not necessarily maybe it's just the way we think of when you say forcing yourself. It's trying to. It can be shown in the sense of trying to make yourself think that way.
Yeah.
Trying to change how you're thinking because you want to do that.
Because it's proven, like in psychology, where it's like, we had talked about it, but let's say you're a very disagreeable person.
Mm-hmm.
You should start doing small, nice things for people.
Yeah.
And that would be sort of forcing yourself to get out of your comfort zone.
It would be.
So that's why I'm not quite there saying, like, you shouldn't force yourself to think positively.
I know.
You should push yourself to think positively.
Because in a way, the people that are thinking, like, if you really think about it, people that are shining, have a bad habit of shining negative light on stuff. Do you think that subconsciously they're forcing that?
Well, here's one of my theories. I'm just kind of like, I'm going to talk out of my bum.
Okay.
I haven't researched this at all. Yeah. But it's like, let's say,
when we do research stuff on the podcast, we normally say it. So
yeah,
if you hear us say something, go with the assumption that it's not research
science
unless we cite it. Yeah.
So one of my theories, I guess, would be, if you're always thinking in a negative light, right? You're getting used to that. You're training yourself to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then it becomes a habit.
Yeah.
And then at that point, it's like your go-to, and it's sort of easy to just kind of rely on that and look at the negative side.
Yeah, because that becomes the easy thing to do.
Right. That becomes the easiest thing to do. And then all of a sudden, thinking positively is exhaustive, and you're not going to want to do it. So you'll just keep falling back on thinking negatively. So I'm thinking, can we have that same effect? Not saying you should be optimistic about every single aspect of your life.
No.
Because listen, I would say that would be being fake and being kind of creepy if you're just like...
just walking around smiling.
This is great. That's great. Everything's great.
Laptop.
This is great, guys.
Nice water. I like your water.
You don't like water?
No, I like your water, I said. I love your water. Look how clear it is and how
clear water.
Calm it is. Water's pretty calm.
Yes. Yes, it is. So listen, that's kind of like what I'm thinking here is could we do the same with an optimistic mindset where you're making an effort for that, and you're making a habit out of looking at things in a more positive light. Not saying, you got to be walking around with a smile on your face 24/7 and things like that.
Yeah.
And let's say something shit happens. I think you should dwell on it, grieve.
Oh, yeah.
Right? That's
the
first thing.
Or if you need to. Some people don't.
If you need to, some people don't.
It doesn't help them.
Right. But I'm just thinking, could we say the same about positive thinking? Where it becomes more of a habit and less of a chore.
That's a good point.
Because sometimes I find, like, thinking positively is a chore.
Yeah. And that's something.
Like,
so what I was thinking when you were saying that is why I would say the majority of issues, the majority of people lean more towards the negative. You don't see a lot of overly positive people compared to negatively.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, like just personal experiences.
In my personal experience? I'd say it's 50-50 for me.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Somebody that's always positive, and...
No, but striving for positivity. And I think that's the point here. It's not being positive all the time.
No. So why is it so much easier to be negative all the time? Because it is. If it's that hard to be, you don't know someone that's...
Well, because thinking negatively, in a sense, is almost giving up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Depending on the situation. But it's heading towards there. If you're starting to think like really negative about it, you might be leaning on forgetting about it and just... I should be more specific probably with the situation, but...
Yeah.
I would say that thinking negatively is less hard because it requires less work.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, being positive is definitely tough.
Mm-hmm. But it's strange because the positive, it just, your whole body thrives off it.
Right.
So why is that for us and for everyone? Why is it the harder thing? If it's the good thing,
right?
Like, why does it have to be? You know what I'm trying to get? Like, why does it have to be the harder thing to do? I mean, it's a deep question, and there's not really an answer.
Well, you're not gonna get it here, anyways.
No, that's right.
Not in this episode.
Stay tuned. No.
Stay tuned.
No, but there's definitely just a question to ponder there.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know if that can help. Maybe people figure out certain things within them to say it just helped with certain situations to really think about that. But it's just strange. Because a lot of, like, I wonder if it's society that's, you just see so much positivity around you and you try to reach
society. You see a lot of positive things.
Yeah. Society, I guess, more like social media, and I mean around you generally. When you're going around, people are nice to each other. That's more common than being with, like, coming across an asshole.
Yes, I would say it's for sure.
So why
sometimes it may not seem that way. Sometimes.
No, yeah. But
I would say for the most part,
generally, you're just more. I feel like personally, I don't know if
I think more people are civil than uncivil.
But
it's your pretty face.
But I don't know.
Shut up, boy.
Shut up, boy. No, I don't know if it's just like, it's just because it is way easier to be civil to people, and a lot of people tend to be more civil, but not super positive about their own stuff. But it could also be because this is just me, my brain going 100 miles a minute, my mouth trying to keep up.
Sure.
It could also be maybe because it's being kind or not being mean to someone, just being neutral,
right?
Or kind or really nice. That avoids the confrontation.
Oh, it avoids a lot of things. Like, if you're being neutral, you're gonna avoid. Well, you're potentially avoiding conflict, right?
But it could also be that negative. So being with yourself, the negativity helps you avoid confronting something, which is yourself.
Right.
Right. So there's a common thing in those two.
Yes.
But on both different sides, which is what I was trying to get at.
Absolutely. And I would say, like, when you're painting things in a negative light, you're making the problem way harder than it should be. Mm-hmm. And with that in mind, you'll start chasing these falsely painted ideas.
Yeah.
Whatever you're thinking about.
Yeah. Yeah, you will.
And when fear tags along, it's going to influence your decisions. It's going to influence everything. Mm-hmm. It's going to influence how you respond to certain things. It's going to influence your behavior.
Because
it's going to influence
fear, like the extreme of fear, it comes down to instinct.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
for sure.
That's what it really is. That's why you can't, when you're in extreme fear, it's why you don't remember stuff. Like, you don't remember what happened.
Right.
You can't put two and two together. Like, you just don't. It's just gone because maybe it's part of your. I don't want to get too scientific, but like your brain using the resources on what they need to. So really not, because ultimately remembering something, if it's something that's that fearful, it probably won't happen again. So you don't need to remember exactly what it was. Your brain will know what happened and how to avoid that in the future.
Right.
or come out of it in the future.
But that could be the cause to a lot of suffering that you feel in the present.
Yeah, it could be.
Your subconscious, for sure.
Definitely, yeah.
For sure.
That's a good point.
Okay, so let's talk about how fear and false meaning will go hand in hand together. So I'm going to share what I think.
Okay.
So fear, I wrote that down. Okay, so first of all, with fear, we already touched on this, but you're not going to want to confront the truth.
No.
And it's also going to change your perception of things, your demeanor. It's almost like you're a completely different person.
Yeah.
Like when you're in a fearful state, you don't feel like yourself. At least I don't think you will.
No, you don't. No. I personally don't. So.
And if you live in fear for a very long time,
so with
that's where false meaning for me comes from, because it's like every step you're taking isn't really you, because it's not your typical behavior. It's not your typical demeanor that you're showing. It's not anything that's you.
Yeah.
It's anything but you.
Yeah.
Because you're living in that constant state of fear.
And it could be partially that you're trying to hide you because you're not maybe content or...
Right.
Or
again, you don't want to confront it. You don't want to face it.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. Yeah. You just want to put that mask on and keep going. Because it feels like you're getting somewhere. Right?
Definitely.
False meaning is still, at the end of the day, it's some type of meaning.
Yeah.
It's just not a healthy one, I don't think.
No.
You know?
Because that's the dangerous part, is when you finally... We talked a lot about it in the last podcast. Not so much about false meaning, but finally getting... Like, really fulfilling your meaning. And then realizing it's not your meaning.
Right.
That is worse than not having meaning.
Right. And you've got to think as well, like, there's temptations on the negative side of things as well.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And living in fear, like I would say, if that's all you know, why would you want to step out of that?
Yeah. Yeah. Because
you're so convinced.
And you don't understand the other side. You don't really understand what's there and what can be shown to you and help you and how much better it can get.
Right, because that's the only thing you know. And since I don't know if it can like actually change your cognitive abilities and things like that, but if it can.
Well, I'm sure there's a thing, because PTSD is fear, and that has some influence over cognitive abilities. PTSD, if you think about it, like not so much overall, like always doing that, but when you're in a moment, it can for sure influence.
Yeah, true.
Like when you're going through an episode or something like that, it's just
right.
All lights are off.
It's not you.
No.
Yeah. Which brings me to, this is like completely off guard too.
Okay.
Or off topic, and it might catch you off guard.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Catch me off guard while being off topic.
Right. Hey, we're going off. So, like, what do you think about, like, for example, when, like, sometimes I watch, like, these documentaries where it's like, let's say a man murdered somebody, his wife, and then blames it on a Psychosis episode.
Yeah.
Like, do you think, like, that should be a legit way of defending yourself? Like, do you think that could be an excuse?
What's the word? It's
state of psychosis.
Is that it?
Yeah.
That's it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because I know exactly what you're talking about.
You know, where, and then they get off free, and then...
Yeah. Not so much free, it's they
or
have
a lesser
to,
sentence,
they have to fix,
or they have to fix
what the issue that caused that.
Right.
So the mental issue. So they
right.
need to. There's a lot of work there. Maybe
right.
sometimes they don't. I don't know if it's necessarily better than prison either, because if there's something wrong,
we should talk about the prison system one podcast.
Oh, that'd be a good one.
How,
yeah, that'd be a really good one. Not to get too much into it, but it would be. That's definitely one, probably maybe coming up.
Yeah, true.
So yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. Because it's really difficult, because if it's something truly, and I know there's really bad people out there that might falsely say that it was that when it's really not.
Sure.
Which
Absolutely.
is not okay. And we're both, it shouldn't happen.
No.
But when there's really an issue like that, and because it's not who they are,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it's something that did happen. Like, no matter if it was really truly who they are or not, it did happen.
Right. Can't take the fact away that
so it's
they
still a
murdered
bad
someone.
thing.
Right.
Doesn't matter if it was mental illness or not. But
it's just crazy to think, how you can become that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like the book Ordinary Men.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did we talk about it already? I know me and you did.
Yeah, me and you did. Yeah,
but on the podcast,
not on the podcast.
Okay.
Oh, maybe in the episode of Liberals and Conservatives. I don't think we talked a whole lot. We might have.
Well, it just goes through. It goes through the story of Polish soldiers in World War II, and they were transferred to Germany to do police work, to be military police in the war in Germany during wartime.
Yeah,
and their chief in command was a pretty humane guy, so he had said, "Listen, you're going to have to do some brutal things that you've never had to do before, and if it's not something that you can
handle,
that you can do." I'll give you a leave of pass and you can go back to your regular post.
Yeah.
And anyways, none of them ended up going back.
Yeah.
And it shows the journey of these ordinary men. And how they slowly turned into monsters.
Yeah.
Right? Literal Nazis. Dragging naked women in fields and murdering them.
Yeah.
Like, so it was like regular guy with a regular job.
Yeah.
And then the transformation to a complete monster.
And that was...
And it tells the tale of how they were physically ill in that transformation.
Really?
I mean, man, like, you got to think. Like, making that transformation from being an ordinary guy to an absolute monster, cold-blooded killer.
No, see, the importance there is that it's not a transformation that could be done by straight up willpower. Like,
okay,
if they were, yes, I will. If they were by themselves, it was those four guys, nothing would have happened. They weren't in that situation, right? Right. So it's the
it's definitely
the situation and its influence from other people and through what you see.
Yeah, and the power of the brain.
Yeah, and that is what. But I mean, so
because they used fear to control these men.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. But it comes from somewhere, right? So it doesn't. Not everybody is being influenced by other bad people. The bad part has to start somewhere. You know what I mean?
Right.
In which I don't know if it's a bunch of people that have near a same ideology that can really start something like that. Because once it's started, it snowballs.
Sure.
Especially
absolutely.
Bringing those four guys in. If it was something that was maybe milder, nothing would have happened in those regards. Wouldn't have been as extreme.
Right.
But it just snowballs and gets bigger and worse and bigger and worse and brings more people in and just changes people.
Yeah.
But it's not, I mean, the change that by themselves they couldn't have done it. An ordinary person, there are extreme people, mental illnesses or whatnot that can do that maybe wantingly, but it happens anyways.
Do you think through meditation you could reach that?
Reach the opposite of that?
Yeah.
because I don't think can there be negative in meditation? Like, can you?
Yeah, because meditation's all up here.
I never thought of that. So, because when you think meditation, I would think most people would think like monks and good, right? And inner peace.
Monks.
Well, when I think meditation, I think monks. You don't?
No.
Really?
Yeah, no.
I don't know why I do.
I think of like someone sitting on a mountain edge, like just.
Look at that! Look at that! Look to your right. That's meditation.
Right
you
there.
You guys can't see that.
You guys can't see. I apologize.
It's someone sitting on a lake, staring off into the sunset and sitting with their legs crossed.
There's trees.
The water's blue. Sky is blue as well.
There's a rock in the water.
Yeah.
Overlooking the sun.
I'd never really thought about that at all.
I would say 100%.
I never thought.
I don't know how that has to do with fear, but
it doesn't matter. We're talking.
Yeah, we're
talking about people
and fear.
People.
We're just.
There we go. That's the topic of this episode. People.
I'm afeared.
You're feared about where this is going?
Yeah.
Afeared. What's afeared?
Fearful, I think.
Oh, okay.
I don't know the exact definition. But.
I think it means this. It might not.
Who knows? I'm afeared. Like I am afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah. It does make sense. That is really interesting to think of because meditation.
I think you could bring yourself to be a monster, but continue.
Again, it's something like not very few things in the world. Not many things in the world. Few things in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. It's easy to learn and become good at, decent at, but hard to get really good at it.
Well, it depends who you are. I'd say like even getting good at something could be difficult for a lot of
That's
people.
why I actually changed it to be like, okay, I can do it.
Right.
Because there's a difference between,
well, there's a difference between like just doing it and then doing it well.
Yeah. Because I think that when I don't meditate often, so I'm not very good at it, but there is peace when it happens. So that's why I mean like there's something there.
Right.
So I wouldn't call myself good at it, but who knows? But the thing is that it's really extremely difficult to explain it, meditation, because it's just so much of yourself, right?
Right, and I think
it's so self-centered.
It shouldn't even, someone shouldn't have to explain it. It should just be something that you experience yourself, because it's personal experience. It's going to vary from people to people.
And it's basically, if there's someone, because I know that I had a hard time really understanding what meditation is.
Well, exactly. I think somebody else explaining it isn't going to do it justice.
No.
Because
I think a good way of putting it is basically just turning off, just letting thoughts flow through your brain and not focusing on something and just being calm.
Right. Yeah, because like sometimes like people think meditation is like your brain has to be quiet.
No.
Which is like, that's impossible.
No, it's impossible.
So,
but you can get there.
Yeah. I'll speak for myself. When I first started meditation, I thought it was that. So I was like striving to have no thoughts. What the hell's going on?
Forget to breathe.
No, but it's like you can't do that. You can't go into it with that mindset of my brain's going to be quiet.
No.
Like you say, you got to let it flow, right? And you got to take 4. So, a lot of technical difficulties, but we're persevering. We're resilient. We got this.
Fear won't take us over.
Fear will take us over. I'm feared right now.
Won't take.
So, as I was trying to say, to respond to your question, evil is incredibly difficult to understand and to comprehend.
Yeah.
And to wrap your head around.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the question remains, why would one strive to be a monster and train to be a monster, aka, let's say, through meditation?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's
want to become deep, like more evil than they are, because you would need to be.
So I would say when you're stuck in chaos and when you're stuck feeling fear, hatred, very deeply rooted feelings that are extremely negative and have extremely detrimental effects on your health.
Yeah.
Mentally, physically, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that when you feel those long enough, right,
Mm-hmm.
you become resentful. And what do you normally want to do when you resent something? You usually want to destroy it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would say if that becomes powerful enough, one might take that route of wanting to destroy.
Yeah. I mean, that makes a whole lot of sense. So it's definitely clouded judgment.
Mm-hmm. Well, of course.
I
would say it's stormy judgment,
stormy,
like
yeah.
chaotic judgment.
Tornado,
There's no
tornado judgment.
tornado, hurricane level 5,
Yeah.
tsunami.
Yeah. It's and that's definitely extreme. It goes without saying, obviously. But just like, so just thinking of that, like, it's unfortunate knowing that there's people that are so alienated.
Oh, lost, alienated, like you said, neglected.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And it's almost as if they have no other option. Not trying to justify their actions. Absolutely not.
No.
But it's like, where else do you go?
Yeah.
And for them, that false meaning.
Yeah.
They might actually genuinely think that's the path they need to take.
Oh, definitely. I think that,
which ties it back to the false meaning and how fear can drive false meaning into your heart. Absolutely.
Yeah. And yeah, into your heart. It's just, your brain. It all comes down to your brain.
Yeah, in your brain.
Because fear, it all comes down to your brain, because fear itself is created from your brain. So it all comes from there.
Yeah. And the hormones it releases again. Yeah. The hormones it releases creates an overactive mind and train of thought. Mm-hmm. And overactive in a negative light. Mm-hmm. So it's just going to be associating every little detail. We already said this, but it's going to be associating every other detail to that negative feeling.
Yeah.
Snowball.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But I think we've done enough damage for tonight. What do you think?
I think so too.
The technical difficulties have been a lot to deal with tonight. But regardless,
we're persevering.
We're persevering. We're resilient. We hope that you guys all enjoyed. We thank you for the continuous support. This is really fun. It's been endlessly informative for me, and it really forces us to get out of our comfort zone and to formulate our thoughts and opinions
and put them into a proper conversation.
Discourse.
Right?
Yeah. Absolutely. So it's been a hell of a lot of fun. We hope you all tune in for more. This was our 2 cents. I'm Eric.
I'm Steven.
Bye for now, and until next time.
Take care.
Ciao.